Welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Josh Taylor and for Rich Walsh, joined by Paul Zeise in studio. I want to remind everybody the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, Pittsburgh's #1 exterior expert in roofing, siding, windows, and gutters. We are taking your phone calls, 412-575-2600. One more thing I want to get to quickly here, Paul, before we start taking some phone calls. Marc-Andre Fleury, 3-year, $21 million contract extension from Las Vegas. I know some people, of course, there's the Fleury versus Murray argument. Those guys, they just pop right up. It's like a game of whack-a-mole. But they're at it again, talking about Marc-Andre Fleury's numbers, whether or not he's worth the money. For me, and this is me personally, if you're an organization like Las Vegas, he was your first pick in the expansion draft. He was your cornerstone guy as your goaltender. Granted, he had injury issues, but when he was in, he was the guy that helped him on that playoff run. This, for me, and it might seem like the money is extraneous, but when you have a chance to lock down a cornerstone guy, you lock down a cornerstone guy. And I thought the Golden Knights did that.
Absolutely, and I think that they knew that they needed to do it. It gives them 2 or 3 years now where they can really focus on building a team and, trying to take care of some of the other areas. And I think that he's got 2 or 3 at least really good years left in him, so why not? I mean, to me, why not? It was a no-brainer. $7 million is probably a lot for a guy his age, but you know what? The guy just almost single-handedly, in some ways, won a Stanley Cup for them. So they're not going to get a better goaltender than him.
And some people will tell you, especially some longtime hockey people will tell you, goaltenders don't age the same way other athletes do. Goaltenders can be productive into their 30s and still be pretty good. So you're still getting him at a time when he's not totally fallen off yet. He still has a lot of skills that can be usable, and they can actually translate into being a pretty good team. So for them, I think it's a good move.
I think it's a great move. I think it's what they needed to do. They're going to lose some of their players. They're going to change their team a little bit. But if you got a guy like him that can win games for you, you got to keep him around.
Totally agree. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Derek in Pittsburgh. Derek, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hi, guys. One question to ask you. How about Mike Murray saying he was leaving Pittsburgh?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Mike Murray for the Penguins saying he was going to leave Pittsburgh. What's the rumors for the trade deadline?
I have not heard anything recently, but thank you for the call. What we do know, Paul, and you can jump in on this if you want to, what we do know is that Jim Rutherford's not passing it up. He says he's happy with the team that he has going in the opening night, but he's not totally writing off the trade market, because after the first week of free agency, those big names are gone.
But did he ask? Did he ask about Murray? I think.
I think he asked about Murray, but Matt Murray's not.
Matt Murray's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
But as far as just rumors around the actual trade market,
there's been some smoke about Kessel.
Yeah, but that kind of dissipated quickly.
And there's been some smoke about Letang, but I don't know who's taking that contract off your hands.
And then there's names on the other ends, like Skinner, we've heard, Pacioretty, names have been.
But they're not Murray, not Murray.
No, and I don't expect that to pop up at any given point.
No.
Because why? I just don't anticipate it. Let's go to Todd in Forest Hills. Todd, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
How you doing, guys? Love the show.
Appreciate you.
My object, the conversation is about Jordy Mercer.
Fire away.
I think he's like steadfast, easy rider, and if they trade him or don't sign him, that's going to be the signal of whether they buy or sell going down the road. Thank you very much.
I wouldn't have expected that name to pop up as guys. That would be telltale signs. I will say this much, and Paul, feel free to chime in whenever you want to. I had this discussion last night with Jack Zarincic doing Pirates postgame. I was filling in for Chris Mack. Jordy Mercer came up in discussion. He was 3 for 3. He was 3 for 4 RBIs last night. And the one thing we talked about was how Jordy Mercer, if nothing else, steady defender, at least a veteran guy. He is what most teams would probably expect for a National League shortstop. Maybe doesn't hit a ton, but at least play solid defense, veteran guy, good presence in the clubhouse. Now, with that said, Jordy Mercer is also on the wrong side of 30. Well, I shouldn't say the wrong side of 30, but on at least the wrong side of his late 20s and coming up on an expiring contract. Whether or not you can bring him back, that's a question you might have to roll the dice on and gauge that if you're Neil Huntington. But at the same time, if you have a chance to move an asset like that, and like you said, Paul, in a season that this team's probably not going to do much, if you have a chance to move an asset like that and get something of value back, even if it's just one guy, does it seem more advantageous to make that move? Because I'm not seeing Jordy Mercer as a guy that's going to sink your ship if he gets off board.
No, they're not going to get anything for him. I mean, what are you going to get for him? Maybe, you know what I'm saying?
I don't expect it.
But here's the thing. They're not going to sign him. That's the thing.
I don't expect them to.
You know, he's going to cost too much money, and people say, well, I mean, how much money is he going to cost? It's not going to be like he's going to get $20 million a year, but he's going to get more money than they want to give a guy who's 30 years old or whatever he is, 30 plus. And, you know, and let's face it, Jordy Mercer is a very average shortstop. And, you know, around, if you take the entire package, I understand he's a steady guy and he's a class act and he's a great teammate and somebody, you know, people love to root for. But he's very average. They're not going to give that money to a guy who they can sort of replace, you know, very easily.
Jordy Mercer is a valuable guy on a team that already has everything else.
Well, absolutely.
If he's the only thing you need, he's more valuable to a team. To a team like the Pirates, that so many other holes are in the lineup, he just becomes another face. And that's nothing against him.
People keep talking about them trading Josh Harrison. He makes a lot of money.
Makes a lot of money. But he's also a guy that might have more value. He plays more positions, and he actually has a higher.
But with that contract and the season that he's having, it's going to be tough to get a lot for him, I think. I mean, I could be wrong. They might be able to squeeze somebody and get a lot.
I don't disagree.
These guys, I think Pirate fans are going to be disappointed if they're traded because I just don't see what's coming back for these guys.
I think that's fair. Here's a question that we haven't broached yet, a topic we haven't broached. P.A. Ram on Twitter says, how in the world do you send Colin Moran from first to home? It looked as though he had a ton of bricks in his pockets. Third base coach needs replaced. He's talking about Joey Cora. Jeff Hathorn from 93.7 The Fan had a great quote. It looked like he was trying to pull a cannon on his back. Of course, we're talking about the first inning with Josh Bell's double when he had runners on, I believe it was on first and second, and they sent Colin Moran. There was only one out. But they sent Colin Moran from first to try to score, and he just gets completely smoked. I thought that was a terrible decision.
I'm to the point where I really believe that these baseball teams have spent so much time with all these analytics and everything, they've forgotten the basics of like how to run bases and the situations. I mean, like VR in the ninth inning, you're down 4 runs, you're on second. Why exactly are you stealing third there?
That's a good question.
To end the game?
Don't make the last out at third base. That's one of the rules.
Forget about that. You're down 4 runs in the ninth. What exactly are you gaining by going from second to third? The only thing really that happens there is you might get thrown out and the game ends. And guess what? That's what happened.
If you do get there safely, you're on third base, but you're still down by 4.
Marte did the same thing a few weeks ago. They were down 3 or 4 runs. It was funny. They were down 3 or 4 runs. He steals, right? They actually, I think, reviewed it before, you know, and he was safe by an inch. And I put on Twitter, what is he doing? And of course, the next guy gets a hit, and someone was like, oh, he showed you. No, he didn't. That was still stupid, and he would have scored from second anyway.
Situational awareness. It's
incredible, yes. And it's all across baseball. These guys don't know the fundamentals, the little things about baseball.
If it had happened with 2 outs, like it happened later on when Josh Bell had a triple, and you send Moran from first with 2 outs, maybe you roll the dice there. But you go with 1 out, you're up 3-0, and you have a chance, instead of having 2 outs and a man on second, you now have 1 out and a man on second and third, and you're up by 3 with a chance to make it possibly 5, or whatever happens with the hitter at the plate, possibly even 6. So you're in a much more advantageous situation than trying to roll the dice there with 1 out. If it's 2, sure, why not? Because he's probably already moving on the swing anyway. But with 1 out, why take the risk? It just doesn't seem to make sense. I don't understand that.
Again, base running is atrocious in baseball.
Situational awareness. We will take a break. We come back. We'll have our sizzling shot. And we'll have more phone calls and tweets. Stick around.